Reagan, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh my gosh.
9 wins last year, 9-8. Their win total this year, 8.5. Very similar. Some key losses: Calvin Ridley, Darius Williams, Rayshon Jenkins. Some key adds: Eric Armstead, Gabe Davis, Darnell Savage, Mitch Morse. This team started 8-3 last year. Trevor Lawrence battled a lot of injuries: knee, ankle, shoulder, concussion, and they faltered down the stretch.
Oh, yeah. One of the biggest choke jobs in a long time. And it's funny because they went from one extreme to the next, because the year prior, they went on a huge hot streak to sneak in, where last year they went on a huge cold streak to just get bounced in the last week of the season. So it's funny that they were on the opposite ends of the spectrum. I'd say Doug Peterson probably has one of the hottest seats this year. My prediction, they go 8-9. They miss the playoffs. Doug Peterson is, in fact, fired. Wow. And they leave it really having a lot of question marks about Trevor Lawrence. And they're like, hey, he's great, but is he ever going to be the guy that we drafted 1 overall that can get us to the Super Bowl? Because the
generational tag. He had the generational tag.
Yeah, he was getting a generational tag. The Andrew Luck, who never got it done, retired early tag. The Peyton Manning, who got it done tag. But I think they leave the season with a lot of question marks about the future of Trevor Lawrence. While we know he's a good quarterback, will he ever be that guy to get us to the next level? Not only to the playoffs, but at least to AFC championships, putting up MVP numbers, and potentially to the Super Bowl. And I think they don't. I have them going 8-9. I don't have a lot of belief in this team. I think that I'm not sold on the defense. While they got kind of similar to the Colts, they got some studs in there. I mean, you got a Louis Khan, big tackle guy. You got Josh Allen, the big sack guy. But I still think there's a lot of holes there. I don't mind the weapons. I don't mind them. I still don't love them. I mean, Brian Thomas, I'm glad they went out and got a wide receiver 1. You had to. But still, he wasn't even the wide receiver 1 in college. So what makes you think he's going to be the wide receiver 1 in the NFL? Then Christian Kirk, how is he going to recover from the injury? Big question mark. Obviously, he was Trevor Lawrence's favorite target. Evan Ingram, Pro Bowl season, great year. Shout out to Charlie Everly's boy. He'll probably love this. They have the best long snapper in the league, so got to give the recognition to Ross Mastic. So that should be huge. And obviously, Travion Walker had a better year too, 10 sacks last year, so that's huge.
Huge.
Still not really living up to that number 1 pick status, but it's kind of similar to the Derek Stingley versus Sauce Gardner, where the guy that got taken after is just playing at an all-pro level with him and Hutchinson, where, hey, we took this guy 1 pick prior, and while he's good, the other guy's playing at an all-pro level. So it will be the wrong pick, no matter how good he is, till he gets to a level where he's at least even, if not better. So that's kind of what I take away from that. But they have a tough strength of schedule. I mean, it's good that they got a new DC, because this defense was Swiss cheese last year. They got Ryan Nielsen. Mike Caldwell didn't work out last year. And Trevor Lawrence, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but 21 touchdowns to 14 picks. That's terrible, terrible. And his QBR dropped from 95 to 88. So just step backs everywhere. I like ETN a lot. I mean, obviously over 1,000 rushing yards. He's a guy I'm targeting in fantasy and best ball because of the capital. He's kind of going at that 3rd, 4th round. So he's a guy that I think will be factored in big there, but it's just tough for me, man. I mean, I think it's a team that can win some games, but I'm just not sold on it. Maybe Mac Jones is a guy at the end of the year. Okay, that's a little crazy.
That is a hot take. Yeah, I'm kind of step for step with you. I have them going 9-8, so 1 game differential.
Juan,
I agree with a lot of things you said. Obviously, T.O. took that big step back last year. A lot of it was injuries, completion rate down, threw 4 less touchdowns, 6 more picks. Success rate was down. QBR was down. How much of that was to injuries or just his play overall? I don't know. He has the most fumbles lost in the league over the last 3 seasons with 21. The next highest is 14. Wow. So turnovers are becoming a little bit of a problem for Trevor Lawrence. I like ETN a lot, especially for fantasy, but he's kind of inconsistent. He gets stuffed behind the line of scrimmage, the 2nd highest rate. It just seems like he's always trying to find the big play, where he does have those big plays, but you're playing behind the chains a little bit more with ETN. So I don't love that. He still had almost 1,500 total yards last year and 12 touchdowns on 325 touches. So he's a bell cow. He's going to get a ton. But Doug Peterson has said this summer they need to get Tank Bigsby involved in the offense. So can those touches decrease? I don't anticipate he's going to eclipse 325 touches this year. So I think it's going to go down a little bit. Love Cam Robinson. Mentioned earlier, not a great track record of Alabama tackles, but he only played 9 games last year, 4th amongst left tackles in pressure rate allowed. Huge for Trevor Lawrence because he's really struggles under pressure. He's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league when he's under pressure, actually, when he holds on to the ball. I don't know why, but it's just his playing style. I don't know. You even touched on Evan Ingram, career year, 114 catches, 963 yards, 4 touchdowns. Never be a big touchdown guy, but obviously he got targeted a shit ton last year. A lot of underneath routes, a lot of little hitches. So for PPR formats, I like Evan Ingram, but still, I wouldn't take him as ADP right now. I don't think I don't think he's going to repeat what he did last year. Kirk, a little bit of injuries last year, but still, that production was very similar when you look at per game stats. He's clearly Trevor Lawrence's favorite guy right now. Love Brian Thomas Jr. Elite speed, elite length, great downfield threat. 68% of his catches were 20 or more yards down the field last year. Jaden Daniels just chucking the ball to him. 68%. That's crazy.
That also speaks to college football and how defense is just not a thing.
He had 12 touchdowns, too, on those. So a phenomenal deep threat. I think he can develop into a legitimate wide receiver 1. But you mentioned he was playing alongside Malik Neighbors. I don't know. I mean, this is similar to Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's a similar thing where, okay, they went off as an offense. Obviously, they win the title. But Jaden Daniels won the Heisman. Burrow won the Heisman. 2 great receivers. We'll see if it's another repeat of that. But I do like Brian Thomas added to this offense. Defensively, I like the front. I don't like the secondary. Very similar to the Colts. Trayvon Walker, the 10 sacks, huge because he looked terrible as a rookie. So just the fact that he's progressing, let's see 14 sacks this year. Let's see 15 because Hutchinson's just been that dude since he stepped in the league, Let's see it. Tyson Campbell at corner. Took him a couple years out of UGA. Very bad last season. Got toasted after he had a big breakout the second year. They need him to return to form. You touched on Josh Allen, 17.5 sacks last year, 18.3% pressure rate, 2nd and 5th amongst all pass rushers. Legit stud. Giants should have drafted him. Nah, I'm not going to get into it now. Not going to get into it now, but that's who I wanted. Devin Lloyd. I'm not a believer in taking a linebacker round 1. Mentioned it earlier, but big second year last year after struggling as a rookie. That's good. Andre Sisco was solid. Darnell Savage is solid. They got some solid pieces, but yeah, this defense was just bad last year. I'm just worried about the secondary. I'm worried about Trevor Lawrence. I think he's going to be good. I don't know if he's going to be great. And they gave him the big-ass contract, so it's put up or shut up, man. Who are you? Are you that guy? Are you that generational tag? Or are you just another guy in that 12 to 16 range of quarterbacks in this league? Which, if you are, this team's not going to win a Super Bowl with Trevor Lawrence at the helm. 9-8, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Solid, not great.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, it sounds like we're kind of regurgitating the similar sentiment. I mean, I really do think there's going to be a lot of question marks going into this offseason. I do think, and I don't like to ask for a guy's job, but I'm sure he'll be all right. I mean, he can collect unemployment, right? Like, what is it? Like half your contract. So he'll probably get $3 million from the government.
I think it's when you sign a deal as a head coach.
No, I'm fucking around, bro.
You fucking idiot.
I'm not. I know I'm joking around. Obviously, he wouldn't collect unemployment. I like how that's you. Well, if it wasn't guaranteed, maybe. No shit, he's not collecting unemployment. What? But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. The Jaguars are just gonna be such a weird team this year. Just
I know,
so fucking weird.
They're a team that's gonna 1 week lose to I don't know, I have their schedule in front of me, but just lose to a team like the Raiders, and then they'll go out and beat the Ravens or something. I just think they're gonna be a weird team this year.
I just feel like they missed their playoff window, honestly. And it was such a short window, but I just think the AFC has gotten so good that this team is just falling behind. And you never like to say, like what Joe Burrow said, like, as long as I'm on the team, we have a playoff window or a Super Bowl window. But I don't even know if this team has a playoff window anymore. I mean, I'm not trying to shit on them. It's just so hard to see the Jaguars really going anywhere. Even if they do make the playoffs, like, they're maybe a divisional round team at best. It's just, I don't know.
I disagree. I think their playoff window is certainly open, but I agree. Their ceiling is a divisional round,
bro. Like,
their ceiling,
it's so tough.
Divisional round. That's the ceiling.
There's just so many teams in the AFC that I would put over them. Like, they're, in my opinion, they're like bottom 5 in the AFC, and it's crazy because they're still like a good team on paper, but in my opinion, they're probably bottom 5 in the AFC.
Okay. Bottom 5 in the AFC?
Maybe not. Broncos.
At 9 wins?
Pats.
At 9 wins, that's bottom 5?
I had them at 8. Broncos, Pats.
Yeah, I'm at 8.
Broncos, Pats, Raiders. I mean, I had the Colts and Titans lower, so I guess they're not bottom 5, but I mean, between them, the Steelers, the Browns, I mean, they're kind of in that like tier of like just missing the playoffs, I guess.
Yeah,
But still,
yeah.
like, I don't know, like you kind of didn't really lose anybody. You were in the playoffs 2 years ago. You haven't really lost anybody. You have the young quarterback. You paid him. This is supposed to be like when you're competing for the playoffs every year. I don't know.
All right, Drock, get your ass in here. What's your lock for the Jacksonville Jaguars?
I was gonna switch it up after you guys just absolutely shit on the Jags, but I mean, this is so stupid for me to say this, and I don't even know why I took this, but I currently have Jags to win the division. But
No, that's why is that dumb?
Hey,
I mean,
their
well,
win
the only
total is
reason-
8.5. They're right. I mean, I think it's a 3-team race. I think any of those 3 teams can win it.
Well,
I'm
just
just not as high on them as
4-team race.
Houston or
Just 'cause
Indy.
just because of the second most favored in the division, but I actually was looking for Lawrence's rushing yards total for the entire season.
He's a
That's
sneaky
the-
runner. Sneaky runner for sure.
That's what I was going to take. I don't have the exact line on it, but that would be Drock's official pick, not Jags to win the division.
Okay.
I'll get that line for you, gentlemen, in a second.
All right. Yeah. I don't hate it, Drock. I don't hate it. MVP, Reagan. I have Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. I mean, this team goes as far as he does. I mean,
he's also the X factor for me. Most valuable player and the X factor.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's tough to say anyone else. I mean, none of the receivers I think will have a big enough impact to be that. And ETN, like, I don't see him ever becoming that like bell cow guy that he's really putting you over the edge and going to be considered a top 5 running back. Well, I think he's good for fantasy and stuff. So yeah, I'd say Lawrence is the MVP and the X factor. I mean, this team goes as far as he does. If he looks like he did last year, they're not going anywhere. If he's at least close to what he looked like in year 2, if not a little bit better, then yeah, they're a team pushing for the playoffs. So
absolutely. Rookie of the year, Brian Thomas Jr. stepping in that Calvin Ridley role. Could have a big impact. We'll see. The hit rate on wide receivers the first round is not great. So odds are some of these guys are going to be busts. I'm hoping it's not Brian Thomas Jr. because I do love his skill set, and I think he can become the true number 1 for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I don't know. I find Jerry Jones, the corner out of Florida State, I think he could have a big impact. I think obviously did they not what's his name? Demarius not Demarius. Why am I blanking on it? He was the guy that led him in picks last year.
Darius Williams?
I don't know why I said Demarius though. Darius Williams.
Yeah, but he's
did they not?
He's
I thought
gone.
they lost him. Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
That's what I'm saying. So that's why. Yeah. I got myself all freaking frizzled here, frazzled. No, I just think he's a guy. Not that Brian Thomas won't have a big impact. I think Jerry Jones has a chance to be one of the starting corners here and could have a big impact. So kind of like this tape out of Florida State. He was one of the obviously big reasons why they were such a good team last year. Obviously Jordan Travis being the biggest reason, and it was pretty evident once he went down how bad that team was, or non-dominant they were, but still they had a good defense and he was a big part of it.
Yeah, I didn't really love this draft class, to be honest with you. Like Mason Smith, they took in the second round, former 5-star, never lived up to the hype at LSU. They have a lot of depth within this defensive line, so I didn't love that pick either. For me, Thomas is clearly going to have the biggest role, like clearly. So that's why I feel like Thomas is a safe bet. Depoy, Josh Allen, clearly 18.5 sacks last year, in my opinion, unless you want to go a different route.
I mean, it's the same thing you could say with the Colts.
Foyesade to lock,
you have to give him respect. I mean, the guy's been a freaking tackling machine every year since he was in Atlanta. So I don't like that was probably the route I would go. I guess I lean more to the linebackers that are just making all these tackles. And, if you don't have a linebacker that can make these tackles, and it kind of speaks to if the linebacker's making all these tackles, that means the D-line's not doing enough if they're getting up to the second level. So, I mean, but you could go either way. I mean, it's the same thing with the Colts we said earlier. It's like kind of 2 guys that are like the 1A, 1B of this defense, and they have some other decent players, but those are by far the 2 best guys.
All right. Dave, you got that line?
No, I don't see anything offered on any books right now. I don't see it even on ESPN Plus or
All right,
my
pick
favorite.
another one then.
All right, I'll be back to you guys.
All right. While Dave is trying to find a line and, because he wasn't prepared.